Today's presentation of The Bias Buzz is brought to you by Accuracy in Media, your leader in fairness and balance. Please follow us on all forms of social media at the conclusion of this presentation.
Welcome to The Bias Buzz. I'm Don Irvine. He's Brian McNichol. How'd your weekend go, Memorial Weekend?
A long drive down to Louisiana. We went through Chattanooga, Birmingham, that way, big family reunion. Political news from that was I saw one Bernie sticker in Tennessee. Every other sign or sticker or anything I saw was Trump, all the way there and all the way back. Now, you know, it's a random sampling, you know, who's on the road, blah, blah, blah. But the whole path from here to Louisiana was Trump.
So the South have gotten on the Trump train.
They are
more or less
papered over in Trump.
All right. Well, for Memorial Day, it was a great weekend, I think, for those. It's always something to remember our fallen soldiers, those who have served. I live in a part of Maryland where we actually get a little bit of glimpse of rolling thunder every Sunday, and that's always a great thing to be a part of. That's an amazing event. I just wanted to throw this rolling thunder in here because the Washington Post did an article about it over the weekend. It's quite fascinating how that whole thing developed and just how you now have really tens of thousands of bikers, you know, coming from all across the nation for this event, and the massive coordination that needs to be done. It's just a sight to behold.
It really is. And I guess they went for Trump. He went to visit them, and there was a rally and so forth. And the Post today clipped him because there were only 5,000 people at the rally, you know, according to their estimates or whatever. The New York Times sent a reporter to it to ask the people in the crowd, you know, how can you be for Trump when he said what he said about John McCain? And they're all like, what did he say about John McCain? Which I think is a real metaphor for, you know, 2016. Like all the things that people used to pay attention to and, you know, hold sacred, that's out the window. No one knows, cares, remembers.
Well, that's right. I mean, I think that's what we're seeing in this primary season. It's just that there are a lot of those standard things that people would have paid attention to that you can see the media, in this case, is trying to gin up some anti-Trump response, and the Rolling Thunder people are like, well, what did he say? And really, who cares at this point? And we have there are bigger issues than that for us.
That's right. And the mood behind him just doesn't allow for that kind of thing. It's like, you know, we understand we're going to be overlooking a lot, you know, but it's the general thrust of this direction or that direction.
All right. So now we've got just about a week to go here. The California primary, that's really the big kahuna that should send Hillary over the top. She is leading in the polls against Bernie Sanders. Even if she lost the state, she would probably still wind up with a nomination just because of the way the delegate system is lined up, which we have gone over and over again, particularly with the superdelegates. So she's got a good-sized lead. But it's also possible that Sanders could have the momentum and, you know, could push it over the top, still definitely making life very difficult. And Hillary did get the endorsement of Jerry Brown, though it was kind of an odd endorsement today because he did praise Sanders while endorsing Clinton. So that's kind of an unusual endorsement.
Right. It was, who was it? We had a couple of those on our side where it was sort of lukewarm. Mike Pence, you know, sort of Trump's great and he's fabulous, but I'm going to vote for Cruz, right? So it's the same kind of thing. Yes, she's ahead. She'll probably win. People forget that California, you know, we always say California is ahead of us on things. California is ahead of us on coalition politics. If you get X group behind you, everybody in X group votes your way. For instance, Prop 8. They convinced Latinos to be behind them. And, you know, California, you know, one of the most liberal, forward, progressive states in the union, right, was one of the last states to say no homosexual marriage in the state constitution. They were one of the last ones to pass that because they built this coalition. And coalition politics is her stock in trade, right? It's not his. He's hold a big rally.
Right, and so he's done that. He continues to hold these big rallies in California. Hillary's still definitely kind of worried about it, though. I mean, she's supposed to be fundraising on the East Coast, but I think she's still going to have to go back to California and do a little more politicking and things like that, just to kind of ensure that she's going to get this win that she badly needs. I mean, she beat Obama when she ran against him. It would be devastating, psychologically and a lot of other ways. I think if she lost the state, she's having trouble with momentum as it is.
Right.
Losing this state would be crushing.
That's right. I mean, I was going to say, given all of what I was talking about, if you lose that, it's a huge blow. And the polls are all over the place. It's from almost everybody has her ahead, but it's from 16 down to like Fox's is 2. So I mean, I don't know who knows who's the most accurate, but the fact that there's that much variation tells you that it's possible.
Right, and Sanders has a week to close this deal with everything like that. So who knows? I mean, it's still not a done deal for Hillary in that regard. It'll be very interesting. Looking at polls coming out nationally on Trump versus Hillary, Sanders, Trump. Yeah, and then Trump and Sanders. So Hillary's lead on this now, 47 to 45% on this NBC News Survey Monkey poll, but Sanders has got Trump 52 to 40. What does that say for the Democrats at this point? I mean, should the Democrats be looking to say, "Holy cow, Bernie's got 52% in this poll. Maybe he's the guy we ought to be doing it because look where Trump is against Hillary if you want to go by polls."
Right. I mean, there are many Democrats right now who are saying we have to back Hillary, but Bernie would give us our better shot. Imagine that. Our side has long since resigned to the same thing. We're both parties are stuck with candidates they don't want.
Yeah. So this, once again, as we've said before, this is going to be a fascinating election. It's it's not official that it's Hillary versus Trump, but it looks like it's all but said and done. The question there is, how much noise does Sanders make, and does something happen at the Democratic National Convention that turns the tide to Bernie Sanders? The superdelegates, while they are pledging their support for Hillary, as Sanders has been pointing out, they don't vote until they get to the convention floor. So he still has a little time to time to kind of maneuver them. It's about a month and a half, 2 months to go, whatever. So he still has some time to sway them. If Hillary's performance, continues to wobble, it could be that you might see it go that way, but it's just going to be kind of crazy.
Right. They are there if she gets indicted. When is that going to happen? When do we get the Gowdy committee report? Those are big things Hillary needs to know, one way or the other. And now they're down to the FBI realizes that like what they have right now is violations of the Federal Records Act and clearly evading the Freedom of Information Act, right? But neither provides for any penalty.
Right.
They can find you violated it. But
right. It's not a criminal thing. I mean, it's just something that they could give her a slap on the wrist, and that's what she's kind of counting on.
Right. So, but here's the thing about it. Either she tells the truth and fesses up to all that and gives them everything they want, because to allocate that way, you'd have to provide all the information, right? All the 30,000 emails we haven't seen, all that stuff. Or she lies and they charge her for something, because if you lie to the FBI, then you do got something you can go to jail for.
Right. Now, and we also had this interesting story that popped up last night or this morning about this Huffington Post deal. This guy put a story up about Hillary's about to be indicted under the RICO statute, and then it's now disappeared from HuffPo without an explanation. Even the blogger, the liberal blogger, put it up. It's like, what happened to my article? It does, I heard Laura Ingraham talk this morning on Fox. She goes, I don't know if it's true or not, but when you put it up there and then you remove it and there's no explanation, it does arouse a little bit of suspicion. What in the heck, what's going on there?
Well, RICO is something you can see that if she is selling government policy by through the Clinton Foundation, you pay me and I will make this or that come out your way. How else would you charge that? That's probably what you would. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but that's one of the options, right? Certainly of charging it. So it's not crazy. The theory's not crazy. It's a doable deal.
Yeah, and Hillary has been, since the Inspector General report came out, I mean, she really has been trying to fight back against this and defend herself, going back and using Colin Powell as an example of someone who also didn't use, the State Department email. But that's not totally true. And, and she's also said, well, others, as if this is a broad thing, like, every other Secretary of State did it. But also, how long has email been around? This is not like we're going back 50 years in time or something.
Right, and the understanding of that it needed to be gathered and protected in this way is new to us, right? I mean, at the time of Colin Powell, we were just beginning to understand that things could be hacked and what that meant, right? So, he shouldn't have done it, but and certainly he's turned over everything. He's not deliberately hiding anything. He didn't put a server in his house. The first thing I need to do is make it where nobody can read my email. And she emailed that to Huma Abedin. That's why she did it. She said why she did it. I think the dam broke a little on this time around, this latest batch, the IG's report and so forth. I think a lot of people are like, you know what? She is lying about this one way or the other. Even I saw a lot of liberals saying, we got to reckon with the fact that our candidate is caught in a lie.
Right. I mean, look, the Washington Post editorial board last week basically said that there was absolutely no excuse for her to have done this. She went against recommendations that were made by her own stuff. People said, you can't do this, you shouldn't be doing this, and then she ignored the multiple attempts to say you need to kind of follow this policy and just did her own thing. So that does set up that whole area of what is she avoiding? What is she hiding? Did she go in there, which it looks like right now, obviously, that she purposely did this so that she could offload the stuff and keep things away from the public eye forever and ever and ever. She's been caught at this. There isn't a good excuse of this. I mean, this definitely worries the Democrats. I think that's part of the reason that Sanders continues to stay in the mix is that, this thing hangs over. And Sanders, who had said, at one of the earlier debates, enough about the emails. I'm sick and tired of hearing about your emails. He's changed his tune.
He's changed his tune. The other day he said, yes, I think it has become a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you expect to hear that? I mean,
really? Now, today, when did it become a problem?
Bernie realizes this is an angle. I mean, he needs to find what he can. Yeah. He's doing the Republicans a favor, obviously, with this. But, I mean, it's, for me, I'm like, I just keep saying on Twitter, it's like, more power to Bernie. Just keep digging away at that. That helps make the Republicans' life a lot easier.
I think that, though, that part of what's driving that is the Democrats have decided that she's going to be indicted. That they're guessing now that she will be. That before they were guessing that she wouldn't be. I think the Terry McAuliffe thing kind of tells you that their gloves are off about that, and that they're not if they don't protect Terry McAuliffe, they're not going to protect her.
Right, and so the Democrats basically need to make sure they have Plan B, because if this does come to fruition, they can't be left without a candidate. They have got to do something, and so Bernie in the wings, even though Bernie's not ideal for them in a lot of ways, what else are you going to do at that stage? You're going to bring in another candidate? You're going to bring in Elizabeth Warren or something like that to save the party? I don't think so.
And the other side of that is this debate they've proposed, right? I mean, think about that. The presumptive nominee is not included in a debate, right? Now, first of all, Bernie has no loyalty to the Democratic Party anyway. That doesn't matter. Trump has no loyalty to the Republican Party. These were just vehicles. That's actually probably more pure use of their purpose than we traditionally do. But if they debate, right, and you see Bernie side by side with him, and it doesn't look crazy, Democrats got a serious. They all owe the Clintons. What do you do?
Right. You don't see Bernie as kind of the crazy socialist or Jewish uncle or whatever, all the different things that have been put out about him. One of the questions I want to ask you, though, too, about this debate, though it's been called off at this point between Trump and Sanders, is that who was really going to benefit from this, Donald Trump or Bernie Sanders?
I thought it was real dangerous for Trump because, Bernie has been in Congress for 24 years or whatever, hasn't done anything, but he does know, he doesn't think the Supreme Court signs bills, right? These are things Trump thinks. He doesn't understand the separation of powers. And, you could chump him on things like that. And it'd be harder to, with Hillary Clinton, he's going to turn the debate into what he did, like the Republican debates. It's going to be little Marco and criminal Hillary or whatever it is he has. And it's going to be about that kind of stuff. That's harder to do with Sanders. He makes an argument, he has a purpose. He makes an argument that, I don't agree with it, you don't agree with it, we think it's crazy, but a lot of people take it seriously. You have to deal with that critique of society. And I don't know that he's ready to do that. I think Hillary is a lot easier opponent for Trump than Bernie.
Yeah, I think so. And Hillary's got all this baggage. And if Trump goes after, if they have this debate and Trump goes after Sanders and does what you're saying, talking about the kind of the Lamarck, all these little things that he's hurled at others, crooked Hillary, kind of anything like that that's close to that. Those Sanders supporters that have said that they might vote for Trump, you'd lose them in a heartbeat.
And there's some Trump people who say, okay, I could go for that guy.
Right. It could happen. The reverse could happen. Exactly.
That limb, that's not easy that's not that hard a leap.
Right.
In a lot of ways. They're on the same side of a lot of issues, right? They're going to get up there and agree a lot, and the rest of the country is like,
now what do we do?
It's dangerous. It's a little scary.
And nevertheless, it would be ratings gold.
Oh yeah, I would watch it.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who watch it. It probably would set all-time records for a debate of any kind.
I'd cancel basketball practice for that. I'd let the girls
well,
off.
now that's devotion. That's saying
That's right.
something. All right, now we also had the Libertarian Party had their convention this weekend in Florida. Gary Johnson and William Weld, the former governor of Massachusetts, that's the ticket. Now, Johnson didn't sail through. He had took him to the second ballot, I guess.
Contested
convention, Libertarian Party. And the Libertarians weren't too happy with Weld. He only basically joined their forces a couple of weeks ago. Can you call Weld a libertarian or something?
Right.
I don't know. When I saw his name, I'm like, where did that come from? And that's a ticket. Gary Johnson, he actually thinks that they could have an impact on this. What do you think?
I don't think they do. I think that they jumped the shark, right? I think that it's the same old guy and legalize weed, let everybody in the country. Come on, guys. It's bigger than that. The problems are bigger than that. And the solutions you offer in a lot of cases, and I've always said this, I got in trouble one time for saying Cato, many good ideas that have no hope of working, right? And it's a lot of that, right? And it's not really that, Cato's not really that anymore.
Yeah.
But, the Libertarian Party is. It's a lot of completely impractical. They had a guy stripping.
Okay, I was going to say that. You beat me to it.
They've got this is not a serious thing. And you've recycled a candidate who's not going to get 1% of the vote, and everybody's like, 1% will make a big difference. No, it's not.
This is not Ross Perot. This is not John Anderson. This is not Ralph Nader even. Their time has kind of come and gone with all things. Though a guy who was behind the Rand Paul super PAC said, I guess he's going to revive his super PAC and then support Johnson. But you mentioned the stripper thing, so I got to talk. Only because I was on the elliptical on Saturday morning, and I'm just watching Fox News, and this clip comes on, and there is this heavy-set guy with a beard, and the clothes start coming off, and I'm like, what? And no one's doing anything to stop it, which is, I thought, well, maybe that's because it's libertarians that don't really care. But it's like, how do you take these guys seriously when a guy doesn't? And that guy said later on, he said he did it on a dare, but you want to take a convention of people where people wanted to be considered seriously and just send it right down to the toilet. I think he just ruined it right then and there.
I think he did it on. He was on something. Dare.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like you say, it was the Libertarian, but it's that kind of thing. It's like the problem with the movement is there's some ideas in there that are really good. It's like Michelle Minton at CEI works on. They take home beer like craft brewery. There's the standard tank that's, I don't know what it is, 55 ounces, say. So they make the law. You cannot sell it in anything larger than 52 ounces. Okay, so no one's tank is legal, right? Yeah. So it's that kind of, come on, guys, and they make some good points about that, but it's lost in this, driverless cars and, there's a lot of things in there is just don't have to do with it.
Right. All right. I want to spend a few minutes here and talk about this Katie Couric gun documentary that came up last week. This documentary aired on Epix back on May 15th, but it was only discovered this past week that there was some selective/deceptive editing by the director, and the documentary is called Under the Gun. On the website, it says, Under the Gun examines the events and people who have kept the gun debate fierce and progress slow, even as gun deaths and mass shootings continue to increase. Through the lens of families impacted by the mass shootings in Newtown, Aurora, Isla Vista, Tucson, as well as those who experience daily gun violence in Chicago, the documentary looks at why politicians are finding it difficult to act and what is being done at the state and local levels. And basically what happened here is that Katie Couric asked this Virginia Civil Defense League people who were on the program about a question that referred to what would happen, if you took away background checks, what would happen, how can you prevent terrorists and felons from getting guns? And for 8 seconds, what you saw on camera was silence and kind of people looking down at their feet and all of this. But that's not what happened, right?
Right. So the people shouted out answers immediately. They have that answer on the tip of their tongue, right? And because they get asked that question a lot, and they're ready for it. But they they cut in film or video of them waiting for something to start, I believe it was, right? And so they were just sitting there silent waiting. So it was made to look like they were stumped by the question when they weren't at all stumped. They leaped out to answer the question. And then her explanation is that the producer's explanation was, I wanted to give the viewer time to think.
Right, a dramatic pause.
And it's one of those things. It's like either you're lying or you're irredeemably terrible at your job, right? Because if you think that what you conveyed there was stop and think about my question, you don't know how to make these programs, right? I mean, any 5-year-old could look at it and say, no, you made them look stupid, right? So I don't know. It's one of those deals. It's like the truth probably sets you free here. Just
right,
say what you did, what you did.
And because AmmoLand had the audio, they were able to show how this had happened. Now, Katie Couric, she stood behind her director at the time, and she's changed her mind. Now, I want to read one more thing here too before I read Katie's apology, which just appeared last night. The New York Times, their review of this documentary was scrupulously comprehensive and decidedly fair. The film looks at why, after one mass shooting after another, lawmakers have not taken meaningful action. Yes. Well, they're. I wonder what they would say now with that in there. So Couric last night on the website, her apology came out as executive producer of Under the Gun, a documentary film that explores the epidemic of gun violence. I take responsibility for a decision that misrepresented an exchange I had with members of the Virginia Citizens Defense League. My question to the VCDL regarding the ability of convicted felons and those on the terror watch list to legally obtain a gun was followed by an extended pause, making the participants appear to be speechless. When I screened an earlier version of the film with the director, Stephanie Suktig, I questioned her about the editor about the pause and was told that a beat was added for, as she described, a dramatic effect to give the audience a moment to consider the question. When VCDL members recently pointed out that they had in fact immediately answered this question, I went back and reviewed it and agreed that those 8 seconds do not accurately reflect their response. I regret that those 8 seconds were misleading, and I did not raise my initial concerns more vigorously. What are your thoughts?
Wow. So she throws her under the bus, right? Oh, I saw that. I told her I didn't think that was a great idea. Katie, they didn't buy, what's her name here?
Stephanie Suktig.
Right. No one knows who she is, right? You could stub in Don Irvine tomorrow. No one would know, right? So, but you're the one. You're the face of this. This is wrong. You're trading on your reputation as a journalist. You let us down.
She was pilloried. Couric was pilloried. I mean, even Washington Post Eric Wemple said that this was this was ridiculous. I mean, it was one of the most blatant things that he had seen in his time as a journalist. So even the liberal journalists were kind of like with the whole everything else that we've seen before here is that they're coming out and saying this isn't right.
Right. This is over the line. You guys messed up.
Yeah.
Just say you did the wrong thing.
Yeah,
You know?
so it's interesting. That's a huge kind of a thing. I don't know what other liberals are saying now today as a response to that, but it must be like, oh my gosh, she's actually admitted, they were biased against the pro-gun people.
Right. I mean, they want this to be true so badly that they will cut any corner to make it true. It's always been true of the gun debate, right? And it's just the whole thing is the whole way. I mean, read the sentence, okay? After one mass shooting after another, okay.
Right. If you actually look at the website, the reviews, Mother Jones and all these other people, it's all about this, talking about all this gun violence, the things that have happened around the country. And it's couched in these terms that say, exactly what their point of view is going to be.
Right. I mean, they're not hiding. It's propaganda. Just know you're watching propaganda.
All right. I want to throw in one more political thing. I probably should have brought that up at the top. I just noticed this morning before I came into that the North Korean paper has called Trump a wise politician. All right, you can't make this stuff up when the North Koreans are coming after you, and they're calling him a wise politician. I don't know what I don't think that's going to really have an effect on Trump's campaign per se. But I mean, I'm not sure if I'm Donald Trump, I really want the North Korean endorsement per se.
If you follow like what people say about the leader of North Korea, a lot of the same words are used. Crazy, unpredictable, out of control,
Yeah, good point. I hadn't really thought about it that way.
So, I mean,
they're used to it.
You can see a little kindred spirit there.
All right. Okay, so something I missed last week that we want to talk about, Redskins poll. I know this is kind of near and dear to your heart. Let's talk about this Washington Redskins poll.
So 91% of the people said they didn't care. The
Native Americans, we have to say
they didn't care about it. Okay, so why is it raised here? And then, of course, there was 62 articles in the Post saying, yes, but we will continue to carry on this crusade, right?
Well, even the editorial still said, I think, after that, just like, we still think there needs to be a name change.
Right. And they have the right to put pressure on him, and he has the right to resist the pressure. It's a private business. Don't patronize them. Don't buy their jerseys. Don't watch their games, right? You're free to do all of that, okay? What I don't agree with is, like, and I guess they're going to get caught, is trying to take his trademark. Because you don't like it. That's a political point of view. That's using government to impose a political point of view. That's what we're not supposed to do. That's the argument for limited government right there.
Right. And, I saw a story, I heard something that one of the Indian tribes, nations, they actually are hoping to get that trademark. Basically, this is for them to find a way to cash in on that. Yeah. That trademark is extremely valuable.
It is,
and so that sounded to me like a money grab. That somebody said, "Oh, well, we can make a lot of money off of this."
We're going to hurt him economically. We're going to use government means to hurt him economically.
But what about just what happens on Indian reservations? I mean, those of us who know this, I mean, rampant alcoholism and other problems on there. Shouldn't that be addressed? Isn't that more important than this?
Right. And to Snyder's credit, he has that Original Americans Foundation. He's done some work here. He's put in some money. He's hired some people. He's done some stuff to help them.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up with a couple more sports things. Warriors.
The NBA. It's kind of getting old. It's like they were it was 3-2. They were going to find a way for the Warriors to eke out the one game and then win Game 7, because that's what they always do. And it's a script. And if it didn't keep happening almost exactly the same way, but it's getting to the point. It's like, come on, guys! Every single year, it's the same. The heroes emerge. So it's hard to get excited about it because it was just so inevitable.
Well, I mean, Bernie Sanders thinks it was good because he was there rooting for the Warriors.
That's right.
He's hoping to get a little bit extra bump in the polls, I think, from that. Nationals had about an even month, I guess, 500 club for the last 30 days or 30 games, but they seem to be somewhere they're still in first place. So, I mean, where are we going? Still looking good, I guess.
Strasburg's 9-0. I think that's one of the.
I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, I mean, he is. He was a generational pitcher who has never been healthy since he's been here. He's finally really healthy, finally really strong, finally become, what is he, like 25 or 6 now? He's a man now. He came here as a boy. and he's grown up, and he is having and the exciting thing about it is it could be this for a long time. He could have 8-10 more years like
right, and he's the pitcher now that the Nationals were hoping he would be when they first brought him up and everything like that. So that looks good, and some of the other things are coming. Daniel Murphy has been saving our behind all year long, so that's just been the great acquisition and has really helped them a great deal. So I look forward to an exciting month where they have an easier schedule coming up.
Yeah.
And that's about all the time we have. Thank you, Brian, for joining me. And thanks again for listening to The Bias Buzz. Wait till next week for another exciting edition.